Good afternoon and welcome to the Geek Show. And of course, the most important question for this week's episode, of course, is what's your favourite scary movie? And
the original Scream.
This would be me just like the debate about Scream movies.
I was thinking, am I going to correct you on completely butchering that line because you kind of moulded the two together? But do you know what? We'll make it our own.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the line from Scream 6. Maybe they change it.
So if you haven't caught on or you don't follow us on our social media, if so, why not you following us? Follow us on our Instagram and our Twitter page. We're going to be doing, this week's show is going to be about Scream. Both past and future. Well, future as in me and Em will be seeing
as in
tonight.
this evening.
Yeah. I'm Rose Mackay and I'll be your host for this week. And of course, in the chair across from me is my ever faithful co-presenter, Em Gilmore.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, Em, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited for tonight.
Yeah, I am kind of buzzing. Just, I think it's that, we're waiting so much for this film to actually drop. And I've been avoiding social media because I think has it dropped in America? I feel like
Yes, it came out on Wednesday as well, and there's apparently spoils of the internet, so I've not looked at anything.
This is why I've been avoiding Twitter.
One of my friends was seeing it on Sunday, unfortunately, with something spoiled. She didn't say what it was, but she said avoid social media. The caption spoiled it. I didn't even look at the thing. So
they should get a law against that in social media.
Do you know what? It's the Americans, and I actually have proof for this because when No Way Home came out in December 2021, the Spider-Man No Way Home, it came out 2 days early in the UK. And there was nothing on the internet until the Friday when it came out in America, and I didn't see it till the Friday, so I didn't get spoiled. My flatmate got spoiled for stuff. She didn't really care, she didn't really watch it, but she kept it quiet for me, thankfully, because the big spoiler was the big reveal for me anyway. And as soon as I got in from watching No Way Home, it was just nothing but spoilers, and I'm going, it's because it dropped in America. I don't know why America has a problem with doing this.
I think it's just the fact that we've now got social media and we can now communicate over long distances.
It's also the ones that screen record in the cinema. I'm like, what are you doing? If someone's going to go see it, they're going to go see it.
And of course, there was that big drama on the Discord where somebody said, hey, the new trailer for this, and everyone clicked, and a whole bunch of folk have seen the reveal already.
It was the ending of Scream 6. I've not seen it. I don't have Discord, so I'm completely spoiler free.
It's another reason to stay off Discord, isn't it?
Because for Scream 5 I got a slight hint at a spoiler, which I guessed correctly it was, but I didn't see the spoiler itself, so so let's talk about a general chat, because we're all about our favourite shows and movies, and of course, what have you been watching this week? I have been watching The Last of Us. I finally started it, and it is great.
You're a bit late to the game, but then again, I've not even
quite literally to the game. I've never played the game.
See, it's a game?
Yeah, so it's based on, there's 2 games. There's The Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 2. So this is the Season 1, which is one that's out right now, apart from the last episode comes out on Sunday, this weekly, is on Part 1. Unfortunately, I can't play it because it's not available for PC. It's only PlayStation. I don't want PlayStation.
Oh, that's so annoying. I think there's a lot of these video game movies kind of coming out, and they're always a bit hit and miss for me.
This one is the best one, and that's not just from me because I haven't really watched many, but from critics, it's the most faithful adaptation. It's just great. So I really want to play the game now, but I don't have a PlayStation.
I mean, the thing for me, was the drop of Season 4 Part 2 for you, which of course you have not watched.
I've never seen it.
Have you? No, because you don't like.
I know of part of it because of I once my mum yelled at her computer watching Season 1 and didn't realise I was in the flat. I was in the house, and so I know what happens part of it because she just yelled, "Grab the hammer." That sticks vividly in my mind, and I walked in and I was like, "What are you yelling at?" And she was like, "Oh, I didn't realise you were still here."
I mean, I've not finished it yet because I kind of like to take things slowly, especially with TV shows. Some shows are just not meant to be binged, and I hate when they do just release them all at once. But yeah, I think that kind of rounds up section 1, isn't it? We always just do a bit of a general chat and here and there. I think that's us done before we move on to our Scream stuff.
Yeah, we're done. Bye. We'll see you all later.
See you all next week.
That's it. We're not talking about Scream.
Anyway, so our next song is going to be Something to Die For by The Sounds, which of course was in Scream 4 and it's probably my favourite song in the whole Scream franchise.
Oh, my
favourite
one's later on. Right.
And of course, before we talk about the Screams of the future, let's talk a little bit about the Screams of the past. That's a good title. I'm going to keep that forever. I'm going to write a blog and it's called Screams of the Past.
So if you hear my chair moving and I don't know how far away we were actually having a proper boogie session to that. So
that is such an amazing song.
It's so good.
I think that was the perfect intro to Scream 4.
Before
we talk about Scream 4, let's talk about Scream 1 to 3.
The original trilogy.
Yes, the originals, the ones they can't replace no matter how hard they try.
Yeah, I feel like they probably won't forget to exist sometimes.
Yeah, true. But me and Em had a bit of a movie marathon where we stayed up till about 2 o'clock in the morning going through all the
something
Screams.
like that, yeah. Well, Scream 1 to 3.
Scream 1 to 3, yeah. We decided we couldn't do Scream 1 to 5 because we did want to have some sort of energy left in the morning, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think that you said that was the first time you've ever watched them back to back.
Yeah, I've only ever spaced them out, so if I've been to like a rewatch, it was like maybe like one a night.
Yeah. Does it ruin it in any way, or does it kind of add to it?
It shows the lack of 3's
coercedness and the rest of it, queasiness.
I mean, 3's hated on. It's not bad, it's just not as good as the others.
Yeah.
And it's obvious when you re-watch it after seeing 1 and 2 back to back because they are amazing, and then 3 is lacking a lot. It's still an entertaining story. It still wraps up the story well. It's still got a great premise. It just could have done more.
See, the thing is, I don't hate 3, and I think if it was a standalone movie, it'd probably be fine.
Oh yeah, I don't hate 3.
But I think it's because you come from, to me, it's the coming down from the high of the midpoint, which is Scream 2, which is my favourite Scream movie.
Scream 1's my favourite, but...
And coming from that to Scream 3, but I know there was a lot of censoring at the time, obviously.
A lot of censoring, yeah, so they couldn't have much violence, so a lot of the deaths are suddenly just done, and then you don't really see much.
Yeah.
So, for example, like Sarah Darling's death, she suddenly is just stabbed once and then she's just hanging over a window, and it's like, okay, there's clearly was more there, but they had to edit it.
Yeah.
It does feel like you're watching a heavily censored version of what Scream could be. For me, Scream 3 feels like just a low budget-ish standalone horror film.
Yeah.
So Scream 1 was made with not much expectations.
Was it low budget? Yeah.
I'm not sure, but Scream 1 was made to not have much expectations. There was no pressure in Scream 1, and yet it's amazing. Scream 2 has had a lot more because it was the sequel to this phenomenon that Scream 1 became.
Trilogy, yeah.
So Scream is my favourite horror franchise of all time. So to have Scream 3 placed in it does feel quite lacklustre, but if you just watched it and not see the other Screams, I think you'd be still fine.
Yeah, I think you'd be fine either way. But like, for me, the problem is with Scream 3 is that for some reason, the Scream 1 and Scream 2 are both like heavily themed around horror movies.
Yes.
Like, Scream 1 is about the idea that they don't create bad guys, they just make the bad guys more imaginative. That's the cool thing. It's a very meta description of horror movies. And then Scream 2 is all about how horror movies, you can't blame violence in movies on violence in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Scream 3 doesn't have that whole commentary in horror movies. They have more of a commentary in Hollywood, which was completely off base.
Yeah, I think if that had been Scream 2, I think it would work, because the trilogy is obviously set as the trilogy. 4 and 5 are separate. We'll talk about them later in the later section of the show. So I think if 3 had been in 2's place, it would have worked. But because it is meant to be this wrap up of the storyline of the overall arc of of Ghostface and what caused Scream 1 to happen, which led on to Scream 2. Scream 2 is like copycats of 1, and then 3 is actually the big baddie basically of what caused 1 without really doing any spoilers-ish. It does feel a bit bizarre. It feels like a weak wrap up. And the one thing, as much as I love it, is the thing that really annoys me in Scream 3 is the video of Randy basically explaining how a trilogy works. It feels so forced, just to remind you, this film might not be going great, but it's the wrap-up of 3 films, and you're like, the fact you need to tell me that is really showing that you know this is not going well.
Why couldn't they just have created another Randy character instead of bringing back Randy? Because I think it just kind of added more salt to the wound of the fact that we lost Randy.
Never give that death, it's the most annoying death.
R.I.P. Randy, you will be missed.
Icon.
Though I think his sister was pretty good in the 5th movie.
Oh, but she's great in the 5th one, but in the 3rd one when she first appears, it's so random and so forced.
She just pops onto like...
She's like, oh, don't shoot, I'm just a kid, and you're like, who are you? And then Sydney literally has to go, oh, it's Randy's sister. And like, the fact you to tell us that really shows that she's just placed there just to get this videotape to you to clarify this is the trilogy finale, like the finale of this trilogy. Like,
she is the MacGuffin. Yeah. And I think, for me, this original trilogy is very unique, whereas I don't know if I'm quite a big fan of the reboot just yet. Who knows, the right might change that, but it's balancing on a knife edge, pun intended.
As you're sitting there wearing your knife earrings. Although you can kind of see them under your headphones.
Yeah, I know. That's the one.
Can you not feel them like leaning against you?
Not quite. They're not pokey. These are the earrings that I bought, by the way, listeners, for my Chucky outfit for Halloween.
That was a great Chucky outfit.
It was pretty great. I did a jut on my hair done as well, so I was bright ginger.
So, as we mentioned, we have different favourite films.
Yes. You like the first Scream.
The first one for me is actually my top 4 films of all time, and I've seen a lot of films. It's just iconic. It's just brilliant. It's so... I just can't describe it. It's just incredible.
I think the thing is I would say that Scream 1 is iconic, but I just think that Scream 2 is much more dramatic with its, like, action. I don't know. I like the ending of Scream 2 more.
Really? Oh, okay. The car chase scene, iconic. Ghostface driving the car.
Also, crawling over Ghostface.
Yes. Oh, that is a really good scene.
The first time you see that, you're pinned to your seat going, he's going to wake up in a minute, he's going to wake up.
Oh, that is brilliant. But for me, no, just Scream 1, the ending in the house with the whole party, it's just... It can't be beat. It just can't be beat.
True, we do have the horrific death of Tatum in the garage doors.
Oh, Tatum, you should have lived.
The thing is, it hurts more for me for Tatum in Scream 5, just seeing her ashes in a box and juice.
That was really random. And the thing is with, like, the entire Scream trilogy, they never really talk about Tatum's death because, like,
it's supposed to
Tatum's Dewey's sister, and they never mention it. They do actually in Scream 4. There's a deleted scene where, because they find Olivia's body, and she's like, there's like a pet thing near her, but this is all deleted, so we don't actually see this. But Dewey mentions about, it's kind of like Tatum's like death, but apart from that, nothing's ever mentioned. It's like, his sister died. I got over it fast.
I think that's the thing. The problem is that a lot of these movies are connected to the same universe, but they don't talk about the past very often unless they're like, just a brief outline. Anyway, I think that kind of wraps up our second section. So our next song for you is "Don't Fear the Reaper" by Blue Cat Oyster Cult. This is one of Em's picks.
Did you really say? What are you gonna say? Blue Cat.
Blue Cat. Yeah, I can't read from that screen.
Blue Oyster Cult. Blue Cat. Okay.
Anyway, let's listen to it. Hello and welcome to the Geek Show. We're almost halfway through, and of course we thought we'd split the Scream discussion into our Screams of the past, 1 to 3, and of course the reboots. Which of course we're going to discuss partly 4 and 5 because, you know, they're kind of important to the trilogy, sort of. Apart from 4 is kind of a standalone, I would argue. Yeah,
4 is a weird one. So 4 is kind of playing on the idea of a reboot, but a soft reboot, because obviously they still have the core 3 there.
Yeah.
But then it never really led on to anywhere because, well, unfortunately Wes Craven, the original creator of Scream, died. So if he had any plans following on to Scream 4, which I don't know if you could because it kind of just... It does feel like a conclusion.
Feels a bit like an epilogue.
Yeah. They never came into fruition, and then Radio Silence, the makers of Scream 5, then got the rights and made Scream 5 and made a prequel, basically.
Feels like maybe, if you're going to watch Scream, I would watch Scream 1 to 4 separately from 5, and then obviously 6, which is...
Yes, so 5 is what's called a legacy sequel, and it plays on the idea of it's a sequel but for a long time after the original, so you have a new character, a new storyline, so a new core friends, but you bring in the legacy characters, and in this case it's Sydney, Gale and Dewey, but they only appear so often.
That Scream 4 kind of psyched you out and thought they were going to walk the old characters out the door, sort of, you know, either through death or just not coming back. And I think that 5 is doing what 4 we thought 4 would do. 4,
they never really felt like in danger, the main 3, because they were still the main characters, even though it was a soft reboot. You also had this new group of friends, but they weren't as focused on as much as this new group in Scream 5 are the characters. I mean, they do, you know, relate it to Star Wars Force Awakens. It's a prime example of what a legacy sequel is. And it's the same idea for Scream 5. And I personally think it worked.
I mean, I think we might see the death of Gale we'll talk about this later, but I think we'll see the death of Gale because obviously Sydney's not going to be there due to pay disputes.
No.
Which, to be fair, I think is fair. Like, if you think you're worth more and the studio isn't giving you the money, you can walk.
If you don't want to do a film, you don't have to do a film.
Exactly. And I think, for me, 4 is like a nice little epilogue to Wes Craven's Scream.
Yes.
And I think 5 onwards will be a new vision of Scream. I'm yet to make my mind if I like it or not.
I loved it from the get-go because I saw it in the cinema Scream 5 and I was obsessed from straight away.
See, I'm just a bit, I don't know, I think Scream 5, the motivation for the killers was very weak.
No, it's perfect.
Would you really kill someone based on a movie?
No, but that's why it's so good because it is stupid. Like, Scream literally is a commentary on how daft. Well, in this one, how daft fandom is. People literally send death threats to people because they don't agree with some opinions about a TV show.
Yeah,
it literally plays on it so well.
I mean, I think the thing is, the message is definitely valid. Like, I don't think anybody should ever be getting death threats or anything like that, or hate on the internet just because they're playing a character.
I mean, they literally, I don't know if you got it, but the most recent, so in Scream, if you don't know, they have the play-along stab films, which basically are based on like the stories of what happened in Scream. But then they kind of split off after 4 because they kind of lost the rights, and then Sydney didn't want her story to be told.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Stab is the most recent one in Scream 5, and it's the most one, it's polarising, it's garbage, and they literally said that it was directed by Rian Johnson, and that kind of gives me Last Jedi vibes.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is I don't think the message works with a horror movie, because I don't think horror movies get that much hate, or they don't get the hate to the level of sci-fi and fantasy
You've not
films.
seen Halloween Ends.
Yeah, I
mean, no, it was polarising.
Yeah, but I don't think they get the same level of hate directed at them as sci-fi and fantasy on a consistent level.
I would argue that's probably because it's not got as big an audience, to be fair.
I suppose maybe. It's this whole thing of people tend to look down on horror. Like, it gets completely buffed at the awards.
Oh, if you say that you're a horror fan, you're literally... people think you're, like, insane.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they don't understand. It's not... You don't enjoy the violence, I wouldn't say.
No,
it's more... It's so... There's a safety in watching horror.
Yeah, because you know it's not happening to you, so suddenly you feel quite comfortable. Like, you're not going to get chased by a guy with a knife.
Yeah, and you get to shout out and go, look behind you, and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's some horrors that I will never ever venture into that are just disturbing and just I don't know why they were created. But I'm also not a big fan of ghost films. But I love slasher films, and because there's just something about, well, it's not happening to me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the whole horror genre where it's human, it's not ghost. It's not a zombie chasing you.
Well, that's why I love Scream especially, because Ghostface, you don't know who it is. It's just a person with a mask. It's different every time. Whereas even like Halloween and Friday the 13th, where you got Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, they just become this like immortal creature, and just start to go, oh, here we are again. He's not gonna die. Whereas Ghostface dies. Yeah. The Ghostfaces at the end are dead. Yeah. I mean that we're relating to Scream 6, possibly one that might be coming back, and hopefully, but in general, when that last gunshot is fired, that's the end of the film. You don't have to worry about that Ghostface coming back.
I think that's the thing is about this whole idea that Ghostface seems to be unstoppable, and it seems to be almost like a possession thing of an individual. Because someone was saying as well, like, it's really interesting the fact that Ghostface's like size and strength tends to stay the same. Like, you'd think if a movie continues, the bad guy's going to get stronger and stronger, and that's sometimes what happens with horror movies in general. And it tends to mean that these movies fall flat on their face, because like they're like, how can you stop somebody that could destroy the universe, for example? Yeah.
What makes it so funny to me with Ghostface is no matter who the character turns out to be under the mask, it's always played by a body like double. Yeah. So even if it's, for example, Amber in Scream 5, she's only about 5'3" or something. She's only about your height.
She's 5'2".
So I was like, oh, she can't be Ghostface because he's so tall. And then one of my friends who went to Scream 5, because I was just starting out the Scream franchise at this point, she went, no, it's always the same, more or less the same person, same height, plays Ghostface. You can't actually work out who it is.
Never figure out who it is.
And I was like, that's quite actually well done, because otherwise it would be too obvious.
I think Scream 5 is a good start. I think it's maybe not as great as I was expecting it to be.
Maybe I hyped up too much.
Maybe you
but
did.
I just loved it. Your fault. I just loved it. It was just so good. I mean, Amber's one of the best killers. But Scream 4's killer, Jill, she's the one that nearly got away with it.
I would have actually kind of liked to see them, have the guts to have her get away with it.
Well, I think we'll talk about this in a minute, but my prediction for Scream 6 is there's 3 and 1 gets away. That is my prediction.
Well, I also had this theory for Scream 3 that what's the name of the actress?
Angelina.
I always had the theory that Angelina may have been the other Ghostface.
She was meant to be in the original script. She was Ronan. Roman. What's his name? Ronan. I never get the mix up. Anyway, she was his sidekick. Yeah. And because it kind of makes sense, because Sydney never meets him until the last shootout, whereas she meets Angelina. It's weird.
In the bathroom.
That's why I can never remember his name, because it's literally mentioned like once before or something like that.
Yeah,
as far as I can recall.
He's just the guy that gets taken.
He's just the director, and you're like, oh, okay, it's you. So originally she was meant to be, but then they did like rewrites and stuff, which actually kind of played on in Scream 3 with Sarah Darling, the rewrites. Yeah. And they decided, actually, no, we're going to kill Angelina. Because she is just, like, suddenly stabbed, and then you see her get dragged off screen, and it's kind of like,
that's the thing,
you weren't meant to be like that.
I think a lot of the Scream movies maybe should have had one of the bad guys get away with it. I think sometimes, for a slasher movie, they're a very happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, everyone walks off into the sunset together, usually about a happy song playing, you know.
Well, in the first one, people thought that there was a third Ghostface.
Yeah.
Who got away with it. However, it turns out to be Roman. Well, the big theory is that the one you see in the bushes and the one you see in the supermarket can't be Billy and Stu, just timings. It is Roman.
Well, that's part of the joy.
But I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but that's what people put it down to be.
Just to say, just to wrap this section up here, I think this is the reason that everyone likes Scream movies so much, is the whodunit thing aspect of it. But then also that you get to rewatch it and try and figure out who is who.
Yeah.
Who was in the ghost face mask that kill? Like,
is it really bad that I know who Melissa is for the first one, based on how they hold the knife?
Actually,
probably really bad.
That was actually intentional direction by Wes, was to actually have them holding a knife a certain way. Like I think for spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Scream, it's the first one. Where have you been? Have you been under a rock? Anyway, it's Billy holds it with his hands above his head, like two hands clasping the knife.
That's Stu.
Is that Stu?
Yeah, because it's Stu that kills Casey.
Wait, so is
because she pulls off the mask and she sees him, even though you don't see it, but because he's one with a bunch of friends on him.
So it's Stu that holds a hand like that.
Yeah,
like that. And then Billy does it with one hand, but he also strangles his victim.
Yeah, because Billy also kills Tatum.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. R.I.P. Tatum.
So also you can tell in Scream 2, obviously Scream 1's very obvious, there's only one killer by the end of it.
They're both left-handed, aren't they?
Great. No, Mickey's not. Mrs. Loomis is, but she's the one that kills Randy. People didn't think it was originally, but it is because you see the shot in the wing mirror of the car, so it's reversed, so it looks like she's doing it with her right hand, but it's not, it's her left. Which I think is just really good, because people thought, because it was kind of obvious, because she writes with her notepad with her left hand.
Yeah.
And that's the one kill that you probably see her with the knife, and they did that so it wasn't obvious that it was her the left hand, because the rest you want to see her use her hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. I
think most of them were Mickey.
Were they? Yeah,
well, the first one was.
Most of them are the ones that you can link. She wanted it all be back to Mickey.
First one was. Don't know about the second one, but then she.
What, the one where the sorority girl?
Yeah, Cece.
That, I think, is Billy.
Which I always keep. You mean Mickey?
Mickey, sorry. Billy and Mickey, they're the same person.
And I always keep forgetting that Sarah Michelle Gellar is in Scream 2. It's always a welcome surprise. Yeah. Especially because we were doing our marathon. I was sitting wearing my Buffy t-shirt. I was like, oh, didn't plan this one.
Also, she's watching Dracula on TV as well.
Oh, so she is. Because it came out the same year as Buffy season 1.
Nice.
Which is 26 years old as of today. Back for you. Happy birthday, Buffy.
Happy birthday. And on that little tidbit there, we will end section 3 and we'll move on to section 4. But first, we're going to play you a little bit of First Cool Hive by Moby.
Which is the ending of Scream 1 song.
Nice. Welcome back to section 4, our final part of the Geek Show this week, which is covering, of course, the Scream movies. So let's chat a little bit about the Scream 6 movie, which, of course, me and Em will be seeing tonight. So we thought we'd give a couple of predictions. Yeah.
Shout out to Fraser.
So a little bit of a spoiler here for our listeners, if you do listen in live or you're listening in on the show right now. What we're going to do is we're going to do this week's episode, which is just kind of a preview to our first thoughts, going into the movie. And then next week will probably be a complete reaction.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll throw in something random at the end, because that's kind of our format at the moment.
We don't really know what we're doing. We literally plan this 5 minutes before we go on air.
Yeah, it's part of our...
it seems to work.
It seems to work, If the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it,
Yeah.
We say that to
it's very broke. We're just kind of retarmacking as the cart rolls down the hill.
Yeah, it's like that scene with Wallace and Gromit, where he's on the train and he's just put the tracks down.
Yeah.
That is an iconic movie.
I love the Ron Trousers so much. Feathers the Penguin, what an icon of a villain. Best villain ever, I will say.
Anyway, enough about Wallace and Gromit.
It's just that showing Wallace and Gromit 1 week if we're stuck for ideas.
Enough about Wallace and Gromit, let's talk about Scream 6.
I mean, Feathers is also a murderer.
Yeah, true.
It does like Ken. And he puts on his disguise of the rubber glove.
Let's make it. Feathers is going to be the next Scream 6 villain.
He is Ghostface. He is the main Ghostface. I knew it all along.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts going into Scream 6 tonight?
Okay, so before reviews came out, I was apprehensive because suddenly it's just so quickly after Scream 5 came out. We say Scream 5. Scream 5 is just called Scream because of the whole recall
or Scream
but we just refer to Scream.
2022.
Yeah. Anyway, when the 5th Scream came out, brilliant. And then they immediately, more or less, announced a new one. And I was going, really? Only a year and a bit later? That feels rushed.
I mean, that's how we got the beauty of Scream 2, though.
True, but it is, I guess. But you do have, your worries on, are they milking it now? No, the reviews will come out and it looks fantastic.
Yeah. What was the score on Rotten Tomatoes again?
It's currently sitting at 80% Rotten Tomatoes score,
that
which is the second
Rotten
highest
score.
I think it's... on Letterboxd, it's the second highest rated Scream after the first one.
Really?
Because Scream 1 out of 5 is 4.1 on average score on Letterboxd, whereas it's 3.8 for Scream 6. But let me just double check Rotten Tomatoes score for Scream 1. Give me a second. No spoil. I'm also not Googling Scream 6. I don't want any spoilers.
No, do not.
Okay, they have the exact same Rotten Tomatoes score as Scream 1.
So it's something to look forward to. I mean, I don't want to hype myself up a little bit too much because that's how you end up disappointed.
Not everybody likes it.
But I'm actually kind of loving this whole idea that they're introducing the Ghostface cult.
Yes.
Which has been a discussion, like, in a theory in the fan base for a while.
It has been. It's been one that's kind of been mentioned roughly, and there was a big thing on, like, social media. Like, I remember during lockdown there was Ghostface cult, but it was mostly of the Ghostface out of Scary Movie.
Nice.
Don't understand why, but yeah, it's always been a theory that there will be people who just become obsessed with Ghostface. And you could argue Scream 5 played on with that with Amber and Richie.
But they weren't obsessed with the Ghostface. They were obsessed with Ghostface on Stab movies. Yeah,
they're obsessed with just the fandom, and they feel betrayed by the writers of the Stab films, yada yada
blah,
yada.
blah, blah, blah.
I'm not going to go into that. Because I like the premise.
But we were discussing this, especially when we saw this, like, the scene on the subway in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying, what if it's Ghostface, there's multiple Ghostface, but they're not working together? And I think that is actually more terrifying than any other Ghostface ever. Because all the other Ghostface have had some kind of plan, maybe not the greatest of plans,
they've
but
either
they've had a plan.
been linked to Sydney or they were fandom obsessed.
But wouldn't it be absolutely terrifying to have Ghostface that have no plan and just going absolutely maniac?
So my prediction is, so in like the promotion and stuff, there's like a 3-2-1 big promotion thing. So my prediction is 3 Ghostfaces, 2 major deaths, as in like the core ones that we've taken from Scream 5 into Scream 6. Also going to be more deaths because there's more new side characters coming in, but 2 major deaths out of the main group that we got from Scream 5, and 1 traitor. And you've got a theory in the traitor.
I do have a theory in the traitor. So we were chatting a little bit about how we thought it'd be great to see a Ghostface that finally got away. I think in the 5th one we actually did see a Ghostface that got away. Maybe she didn't take part in the killings completely. My theory is that Tara, the little sister of, I can't remember her name. Sam's little sister Tara was originally meant to be a Ghostface, but then she got cold feet and backed out, whatever. But that makes sense about why her complete horror when they turn up at her door. Like, can you imagine that? You plan this horrific murder spree, you then get cold feet, you back out of it, you think they've backed out of it too, and then they come after you. I don't know, because
when she gets the phone call in the opening scene of Scream 5, she has no clue about stab movies at all. She has to quickly Google the names of the cast, and she doesn't even know that Stu's also second killer. Yeah. I can see where you're coming from, but I think she might be the traitor in this one.
I mean, I think it would just be amazing to see Jenna Ortega, because Jenna Ortega did start originally with horror movies. Mm-hmm. She was in, I can't remember what the movie's called. It's called X, and it's...
Oh, X is brilliant. Have you seen X?
I've seen X.
When did you watch it?
I watched it, see the trailer for Pearl. That came on when I was at the cinema for some other movie. And I was like,
Pearl comes out next week. We need to go see Pearl.
We need to see Pearl. I want to see Pearl go absolutely nuts. But I absolutely loved Jenna Ortega in that. I loved her in You, which is kind of a horror if you think about it.
Oh, I forgot she was in that. I've not seen it, but I've seen some of her clips.
I know of her. And then
she's great. Wednesday. She's great in Wednesday. Wednesday itself is not a great show. It's really, really overhyped. But her performance as Wednesday is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Jenna Ortega I think is definitely going to be the top billing. Like, I think if people haven't watched Scream movies before but they see Jenna Ortega in a movie, she might be drawing in more people to the family.
Oh yeah, she's definitely probably the most famous. Well, it's also, I guess, Courtney Cox's Gale, but for like a newer, younger audience, I feel like Jenna Ortega is the more of the drawn in to it. Yeah,
and I think she's absolutely going to rock it. I hope she doesn't die, but I would love to see her as a traitor.
I think there's definitely, so as I said, I think it's going to be 3 Ghostfaces. Whether they're linked or not, we don't know. There's a Ghostface shrine, so the cult that's probably going to get played on, because if you looked at like the actual shrine, you get a pan out shot in the trailer. Yeah. It has memorabilia and like relics from every single Ghostface killing up to this point. It's got like Tatum's shirt, Jill's shirt. It's got like each Ghostface mask of all the killers. So I think one's going to get away with it.
Also, what did you think about seeing like this version of Ghostface? Because obviously they changed for each movie. I think he looks more menacing now than ever.
His mask also keeps changing, so I gives me more.
This one looks very aged.
It's Billy's mask.
Is it Billy's mask? Whoa, that is oof.
That's why it's also a theory that possibly a Ghostface may be returning. Now, what with Billy, because Billy is definitely dead.
Billy is gone.
He got shot to the forehead. He came back in Scream 5 as a vision with Sam, so to bring him as a killer would just didn't make no sense. narratively. Possibly could be Stu.
Yeah,
because Stu he's never officially been confirmed dead, and Matthew Lillard, who plays him, keeps getting asked, is he dead? And he just goes, I can neither say nor deny, because he gets a TV dropped on his head, right?
Yeah.
Does that kill you?
That feels like that would be pretty life-ending.
Yeah, but it might not kill you.
I mean, we're not going to recreate the experiment. We're not going to, like, who is the people on the internet, the YouTube, they proved that the door could have held two people. I can't remember what their name is.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah.
We get myth busted in and just, like,
Would Stu actually die from a box TV landing on his head?
Thing is, I don't know if I like the whole idea of we didn't see them die so they can't be dead, because then, I mean, I've seen this with Snowpiercer. You haven't obviously seen Snowpiercer.
No, I've not seen it.
Melanie was dead, and then the fandom willed her back to life.
Oh,
okay. To be fair, I was happy to see Jennifer Connelly back, because that show was, like, on its hands and knees. And she didn't give it a complete reboot, but she did give it a steroid shot. And then, I don't know, it just felt very hammed in. Like, she should have been dead.
No.
And I think that the fandom always willed her back into
I think if Stu came back, I think it would be a big moment.
But then it's like, so...
Because also people think maybe Jill could come back.
If you're thinking from a writing standpoint, if the writers are thinking, right, we need to definitely show them dead, it becomes very talky, downy to the reader. So, to the reader, to the...
The reader? Who's reading Scream? Is that novel?
Like,
might actually be a novel.
I don't think I want to see everyone in a movie horrifically killed, so I'm like, yeah, they're definitely dead. In fact, I don't want to see them killed and then attached to a heart monitor just to see a flatline.
But they always say the killer comes back and they shoot him in the head and never shot Stu in the head.
True. And also, it just makes sense, like, for Stu to be like...
Yeah, hold on, let me just go for them all. So they shot Billy in the head, didn't shoot Stu in the head, he got a TV in his head. Mrs. Loomis and Mickey both got shot in the head. Same with Roman. Angelina obviously was never a ghost face. Jill, yes. No, Jill got shot in the chest. Charlie was stabbed, but Charlie was very much dead when he got taken out by Jill. That was pretty much a confirmed kill. Amber did, and Reggie got his throat slashed, but that pretty much was a death one. But I'm probably just living in denial. I probably walk out of Scream 6 going, I totally knew he wasn't coming back. To be honest, I don't know what you're on about.
Yeah, I think we definitely on the record now if just tries to deny it now.
No, I never said he was coming back.
Anyway, so you're definitely going to the movie with high expectations.
Oh yeah, but so because we're running out of time, who do you think at least one of the killers is going to be? Because I have an idea of who one was going to be.
I think it's going to be Tara.
Tara.
Sorry, I say Tara.
Because the Earth is where the name comes from, I know.
Yeah.
Seriously, Tara's one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to this movie in general, because I get to see it in the cinema. I've actually never seen a horror movie in the cinema.
I've only seen a few.
So, if I need to hug you at some point, don't freak out. I know you're not big into hugs, but
It's fine. My flatmate once launched herself into my arms pretty much because a pigeon flew near her. I'm used to it. My prediction for one of the killers, if my wish we're hoping doesn't exist, but one of them I think is going to be Ethan. Tara's either, I can't remember if it's his roommate or her flatmate. I don't want to Google it now. I don't want to Google it.
You don't want to Google it.
Goes, oh yeah, he is the killer. Or no, he's not. Maybe it sounds mean, but he just kind of looks a bit dead inside. He looks like a killer.
I love it. The idea that this actor is giving it his all.
I think it's called Ethan, the character. As I don't want to search it now. He just has those dead eyes that just give me killer vibes.
Yeah. I think does seeing a movie in the cinema, especially if it's a horror movie, does that add to it? Do you think?
Oh, it adds to it. Scream 5. Just see the scene, especially in the hostel when Ghostface is walking behind Tara, who's crawling down the. That in the cinema was spectacular.
The thing is, I think you get to see other people's reactions, and of course, if they jump, you're going to jump.
But I went to see Scream 5. There was these two old dears in front of me in the row in front of me and Lizzie, who I went to see it with, and it was just like, wow, Scream really attracts all ages. This is so wholesome.
For all the family.
It's so wholesome. Well, unless you're over 18.
True. All the over 18 family members.
No, yeah, no, it was just so when I sat down, I was going.
Kids are left at home with babysitter.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe the grandkids are left the babysitter, clearly. These people are definitely grandkids.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is, being in a cinema, as long as there's nobody talking and being annoying, but to be fair, I've had some really bad cinema etiquette the last couple of movie going experiences.
Oh, I need to tell you about one.
Somebody opened up a full, I don't know if it was an Indian meal or something, I could smell it, and they were talking very loudly.
What film was that for?
It was, what was it? I was actually going to see by myself, because I started to see movies by myself now.
Yeah, I have too much social anxiety.
It was actually I'm at the Wasp Quantumania, which I was impressed by, because that
Did you see it by yourself?
4D. Yeah, I was there by myself. Don't laugh. It's not
I'm not.
advice.
I'm not.
Actually,
I thought you were with your mum.
I would genuinely urge anybody to go and watch a movie by themselves in the cinema.
No, the worst one, the funniest one was it's the funniest bit of the film I went to see. My flatmate was desperate to go see Matilda the musical.
Oh my god.
So we went to see the cinema.
It's
And
on Netflix.
these two girls who would not stop talking, and you're just sitting there like, I was so ready to launch my popcorn at them.
Yeah, you know when you were going to kick the seat.
I mean, I wasn't really like. I mean, it was a decent film, you know. It wasn't like, if people talk and scream six, then I will, will before my popcorn. But I was just sitting there going, the conversation can wait. You've paid to come in here. Why are you talking?
Yeah, I mean, also the fact that everyone else around you is
like, I get if you whisper every so often to the person next to you, that makes sense.
I have nothing against that.
But if you're in a full-on conversation about gossip in your friend group in the middle of like Miss Trunchbull like swinging the kid like a hammer over the fence, what are you doing with your life?
True. I mean, you know what? I would be surprised if you go full Ghostface, like you pull out the Ghostface mask, which I'm sure you have in your bag.
No, I don't actually bring it.
I'm so upset. Like,
I know.
seriously, I was going to expect.
I thought that'd be a bit weird.
To be fair though, that mask is probably terrible to watch a movie with. Like, see,
yeah, you can't really see out of it. There's videos of me like at that Halloween party with it. I can't see out of it, and the one of me at my birthday party as well. When I put it on, I actually can't see where I'm going half the time. It is a bit of an issue.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that wraps up this week's show. Next week, of course, we just told you we're going to be doing our reaction to Scream 6, which we reckon could take up a full episode.
Yeah, if it's as good as it sounds, then I think I could even talk for 60 minutes, let alone adding those in as well.
So if you want to listen into the show, if you've just stumbled across us, I mean, I apologise. We're probably being shouting in your ear for the last 2 minutes. But you're interested, you want to listen to the next episode, you can find all our episodes on our YouTube channel. That's the Geek Show _GCU, and that's the same name we use for our Twitter and Instagram because we like to keep it streamlined.
The Twitter that I keep forgetting.
If you want to keep in contact with Radio Caley, you can follow Radio Caley on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Caley. Just send pictures, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. If you want to start your own show, you think to yourself, I could do a better job than these two idiots. It's not that difficult. Just email programming.radiocali at gcustudents.co.uk and they can get that all sorted out for you. Anyway, have a great week, and we're just going to end on It's a Sin by the Pet Shop Boys.
See you next week.
Over and out.